This is actually SoundWhiz's first official full-size headphones. Up to this point, they've been largely concentrating on quality Bluetooth sports earphones. So with this very first full-size on-ear Bluetooth headphones, SoundWhiz decided to go with something that was pretty unique. As far as I know, these are the only inbuilt Bluetooth headphones with an open back design, at least within this price range of $120 and lower. Now, I should say they are actually technically semi-open back, and that is because you'll notice right off the bat there is no open grill on the housing. With any other open back, you'll see that, a grill where obviously sound escapes from each side. What SoundWhiz did here was make the internal backing perforated, so it actually escapes out, and then the faceplate is more acoustically transparent and not hermetically sealed. So with this case, even though there's no obvious grill, sound still is able to escape equally on both sides, and thereby giving an extended soundstage. I could tell within 30 seconds of putting these on for the first time that I could hear that extended soundstage left and right compared to traditional closed back headphones. It is definitely a much more spacious sound that you'll get with a traditional closed back. Furthermore, the noise isolation is far better than open backs. Not quite as, closed in as closed backs would, but compared to open backs, when you're wearing open backs, someone walks in through the office door or is talking to you from 4 or 5, 6 feet away, typing on a keyboard, the whole 9 yards, you hear it. Yes, you do. And that's always been the biggest thing with open backs, is you hear everything around you, and of course everyone around you hears your music, because it also has pretty strong sound leakage. Whereas these, because of the semi-back, the noise isolation is a lot better. Someone talking to me from like 3 or 4 feet away, I couldn't hear them with my music, choral music no less, so I had a lot of empty space in the soundstage. I couldn't hear a word they were saying. So the noise isolation is much better. It still has sound leakage, but once again, compared to open backs, it's further reduced. So it does have that advantage. Not quite as an expanded soundstage, but still one better than closed backs, as well as sharing better noise isolation and better reduced sound leakage than open back. So as you can see, there's a bit of a give and take there. Now, also, I noticed the other characteristic after about 50 hours burning, the other characteristic I noticed was the mid-vocals seemed to soften a bit. They did take on a more airy sound to it. When I first put them on, the mid-vocals were cleanly bright along with the upper mids and highs, but after about 50 hours, the mid-vocal range, it just seemed to soften lightly, become a bit more airy, become a bit more spacious. Still very clear and relatively bright compared to much darker headphones. Any darker headphones with heavy bass tend to swallow up the rest of the spectrum. These still relatively remain bright and clear, but the mid-vocals did soften lightly. And that is probably actually, once again, due to the materials inside, not from the drivers relaxing, but from the actual the backing and the faceplates just opening up more from vibrational agitation. Now, just to briefly touch on sound signature, heavy bass, it resonates all the way down to a 10 hertz floor. So it's got very plump, very pronounced, very forward push bass. No other open back headphones I own, and I do own the AudioQuest Nighthawks, which are usually heralded for its good bass, as well as the Kindon Rosewood open backs, and so on and so on. None of my open backs can even remotely compare to the bass response that these puppies give. It is a very forward, boom, meaty, rich bass, along with giving a very clear, bright treble. So hi-hats, snares, they pop out very well. And on the whole, it is a delicious sound that actually works very well for pretty much any audio genre. When you're listening to classical, the cellos take that nice bottom depth to it as they hit the lows. EDM, rap, hip-hop, of course, electronic synth. That 10 hertz bottom really does add substratum to the EDM synthesizer beats. But at the same time, the bass doesn't bleed out over the rest of the spectrum. It's still controlled. It's still detailed. So when you're listening to rock and roll, often with mega bass sets, the bass will, like a bass guitar, will bleed out all over the singer, masking that poor drummer all the way in the background. Not so at these. Even though it does have a pumped, plush bass, it's still controlled. It's still in where it needs to be. It is definitely, though, forefront of the soundstage. So the mid vocals, of course, do have that sort of airy quality floating behind the bass. And then at the same time, it's sort of like a soft U scoop. The upper mids and the highs are almost pretty much on level perceptually with the bass. So it's just slight kind of U scoop in that perceptual forward depth. All in all, though, I am extremely glad I pulled the trigger on these. And for those looking for a pair of Bluetooth semi-open backs for that extended soundstage at the same time that has really robust bass and overall bright, clear spectrum, the SymphoniQ has my absolute recommendation.